All right, number 10 on Name That Quadrilateral. If line M is perpendicular to line N and the slope of line M is greater than 1, then the slope of line N is less than 1. Okay, so let's take a look at this. This really doesn't have a lot to do with quadrilaterals. You're like, why is this on the sheet? But tomorrow in your assessment, you are going to be looking at slopes, and that's going to help you determine, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, are they neither, and the slope will let you know that. So, if I'm trying to decide if a shape is a rectangle, I'll look at the slope of this side and I'll look at the slope of this side. And if the slopes are blank, then it's a rectangle. What's in that blank? Opposite reciprocals, right? Right? All right, so in number 10, line M is for sure perpendicular to line N. The slope of line M is greater than 1. Now, if I know my slope needs to be an opposite reciprocal to be perpendicular, then wouldn't the slope of N have to be less than 1? So, yeah, so opposite means change the sign. So if I take anything greater than 1, so 2, 4, 1,000, no matter what, if I do the opposite reciprocal, I've gone from a positive number to now a negative number. And a negative number is always going to be less than 1, so always. All right, now we're looking at number 12. If QRST is a rectangle, so that's the hypothesis. You assume it's true. So it is a rectangle. We don't argue that it's a rectangle. It is a rectangle. Then RQS, angle number 1, is congruent to SQT. We know that that is sometimes because that's not a property of a rectangle. The diagonals do not bisect the angles. It's not a property of a rectangle, so most of the time they will not be congruent. But what if that rectangle is a square? Do you agree that a square is a rectangle? Yes. So if that rectangle is a square, then those would equal. So I found a time when it wouldn't, I found a time when it would, and that's why it's sometimes. So Aaliyah was asking about, will we get a list of things that prove something's a trapezoid or prove something's a kite? We didn't include that in our unit. So for our purposes, the property number 1 is always the definition of the shape. So like to prove it's a trapezoid, you only have to prove property number 1. What's property number 1? It has exactly 1 pair of opposite sides parallel. So to prove that this was a trapezoid, you would just need to show that AB was parallel to DC. And then you might want to show that BC is not congruent to AD, showing it's not an isosceles trapezoid. You see where I'm going there? So you can show first it's a trapezoid, then you can show it's not something else. For kite, anyways, to show that it's a kite, you would show that it has exactly 2 pairs of consecutive congruent sides. AKA, to show it's a kite, you are showing tick mark, different tick mark, different tick mark. So that's how you quote-unquote prove something's a kite, by those side links being congruent.